Welcome back. Acclaimed director M Night Shyamalan is known as the king of the twist. His psychological thrillers have been scaring the pants off us since The Sixth Sense.
It's a lot of fun. Night is in Australia for the first time ever, ahead of the release of his latest, pardon me, movie. This is why I'm holding my hands like this. I've got the hiccups.
Shock.
I hope he scares the pants off me in a moment and cure these hiccups. Our movie man, Jabba Davis, Nick, you're going to take over. Sat down with it.
I did a burpee.
I was going to hang on, can you scare me? Hang on.
To learn his secrets, take a look.
From the Oscar-nominated The Sixth Sense to his later work on thrillers like Signs and The Village, director M Night Shyamalan puts the night in nightmare. For 16 years, he's dominated the genre, and his newest movie, The Visit, out next month, looks set to continue that trend.
Bedtime here is 9:30. You two shouldn't come out of your room after that.
Good night.
Good night.
What is that? Hannah?
Joining us right now, master storyteller M Night Shyamalan. Good morning, Night.
Thank you.
I've been waiting to say that all morning. What a great twist.
Well
morning,
done,
Night.
well done, well done.
How do you describe what you do to people who are unfamiliar with your work?
You know, I think there's a lot of, ways that people describe my movies. I don't find them accurate. You know, they kind of always say they're horror movies. I don't feel that way about them, you know. This last one is very scary. The one we're here to talk about is very scary, I'll give you that. But the common thread through all of them is that they're psychological thrillers. That's really what they're about.
I think Nana's not feeling well.
Grandmother is fine. It's like somebody talking in their sleep.
What's he doing? They're weird during the day.
I was just cleaning it.
And even weirder at night?
There's something wrong with Nana and Papa.
The plot of The Visit is about two children that go to visit their grandparents. The older child is making a movie of this, trying to make a movie to reunite her family together, all the kind of estranged family members together. And she starts recording some very weird things that are happening, and it gets very, very scary.
You've established the film as a documentary style, shot by these two kids who are played by Australians, Ed Oxenbould and Olivia de Jong. They do a great job. How do you go about the technical aspect of shooting a film that's meant to be shot by children and still make it be watchable?
I storyboard every shot in my thrillers very, very carefully. I draw them out. I'm starting a new movie in the fall, so literally I'm arduously going through every shot and drawing every shot out. This is when it turns. This is the camera angle. It's slightly lower than eye. No. It needs to be eye level. All those thousands and thousands of decisions I do on paper beforehand, and the same thing I did with The Visit. The added burden in The Visit, it had to look like it was a character, decision, that the character, a teenage girl, decided to keep the camera on the table, decided to pick it up at this line, and then turn and catch this situation.
Do you always follow your storyboards?
Every single one.
Really?
Every single shot done exactly that same way. You know, now with technology, there's a tendency to make the movies in the editing room afterwards, right? Which is, I feel, an abdicating of a vision, which is kind of like, let's just gather this whole mentality of just let's gather footage and let's figure out what it is later, is not the way older films were made. I'm talking way before computers. And we love those movies because they represented someone's vision of what they saw beforehand. They made it in their head and then recorded it on film. And I'm much more of that old school type of filmmaker. I see it really clearly in my head, and we're going to record that. Editing is for fixing my mistakes.
Talk us through how you've gone from The Sixth Sense all the way through to Wayward Pines to reach The Visit.
When you start out in your career as an artist, you're using a lot of instinct. This is actually a process that happens to all artists. You use your instinct a lot. Let's just put numbers to it, like 90%, because you don't have a ton of craft at your disposal. And that balance of like 80-20, 90-10 is what's so beautiful. But as you get more and more experience and more craft, you start to use the craft to protect yourself. And this sounds like a good idea, but it's actually not. This is actually why you don't get songwriters that, in their 50s or write beautiful stuff like they did in their 20s and they affect us. They know so much, they have so much craft, they constantly lean on the craft, their knowledge, their experience to protect them. Now, to counteract this, you have to go and do things that you've never done before so that you're relearning.
Night's recent movies include The Last Airbender and After Earth. Both are outside his regular genre and were judged harshly by critics.
When you've put so much effort into a project like The Visit and your previous films, where do you get your sense of satisfaction from knowing it's done, it's released?
This question that you're asking me is a big question. This is literally the question that I ask myself about how to stay happy. Visit's coming out now, it's gonna come out all around the world. Everyone seems to be so loving the movie, and the response has been so ubiquitously positive that I am starting to feel happy because of that, like a sense of self-worth because of that. That's bad. That's not where my self-worth should come from. Okay, the fact that everybody's liking The Visit. That's going to be a road to unhappiness. When I close my eyes and I think about what I would wish for the movie, I wish that I could see the characters completely. That's really my wish, and that's my job, to stay with the characters in the story, hear them, be empathic to them, bring them to life. That should be my sole wish, and that's where my happiness should come from, my ability to tell the story properly.
I think that is invaluable advice for anyone watching who, might want to follow in your footsteps.
Oh, thank you.
And speaking of advice, Knight's got one more tip for filmmakers.
As the master storyteller of our generation, what is the secret to a great story?
Gosh, it's character. Plot should come out of character. It really should. I know that sounds weird. Like you shouldn't. It's harder when you go, oh, we're making an action movie with XYZ action star, and I need 7 action scenes, and it needs to culminate in a big fight between the villain and thing. That's plot first. Whereas it should be the thing that should ignite it is our action heroes, blah blah blah, has his child is lost or whatever it is, and he's been a bad father. Like I'm starting to, you know what I mean? I'm starting to come from character, but now you're starting automatically, even that 2 little sentences I just said, I started thinking of plot ideas.
And as for the famous M Night twist?
I don't really think of it like that again. I think of it that, again, it comes out of the characters, and usually I think of very exciting things for them, some challenging things or misunderstandings that they've had, but coming from the characters, I usually have some kind of interesting stuff that happens.
Would you mind getting inside the oven to clean it?
Stop! Nana, stop!
Chills. That's a great interview, Jabba.
Really good.
Isn't
What a
that true?
thoughtful
Character.
man.
That is the essence of any story, fact or fiction, isn't it? Great characters.
If it comes from a strong character, it's always true. It's news time. Here's Talitha.
Thanks, Andrew. Good morning again.